All right. Happy New Year, everyone. If I took a couple of days off, but I'm back again. So we've got a lot to cover. I think I found the winner for 2024 on perhaps the most misinformed U.S. politician on Social Security show. I'm going to show a little clip on his. He's essentially saying, okay, we in order to save Social Security, we need to end benefits for spouses, divorced spouses, current spouses, and children, disabled adult children under the age of 18. And either he's saying that or he hasn't got a clue about Social Security. So maybe we can educate him a little bit about Social Security today. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Social Security Fairness Act a little bit. Looks like it's going to be signed here by President Biden here in a few days. And all of this is, I would argue, is an attempt to privatize Social Security. The new Congress here starts. And there is already an attempt to privatize Social Security, give about $1.5 trillion of your Social Security savings to Wall Street. We'll talk about that. And we might be able to find a veterans benefit expert. My job here, if you're new to my channel, my name is Ed Weir. I ran the third busiest Social Security office in the country. And in my semi-retirement, my mission is to help you all get the benefits you earned in terms of Social Security, retirement, disability, survivor benefits, spouse benefits, Medicare, Medicaid, and I'm trying to branch out and add different things. I'm an old Marine Corps sergeant, but I'm not too familiar with veterans type things. So I'm trying to find a veterans expert to help you all out so we can become a one-stop resource for all government benefits. Figure if the millionaires, billionaires can get their government welfare, then hey, what's to prevent us from getting the same too, right? Okay, so yeah, we've got a full agenda today, and then we'll talk about the Medicare open enrollment period. So let's talk about this individual here. Oh, and this is also a live Q&A as well. I'll go through this list. It'll probably take about 15 or 20 minutes. I'll try to go through it as quickly as possible, and then I will get to all your questions. So if you have any questions about your upcoming retirement or disability or survivor benefits or anything like that, make sure you type it into chat, and I will get to as many as I possibly can. Okay, so this is Senator Mark Wayne Mullin from Oklahoma, and he was at the Turning Point conference in December, and he was asked about FICA, which people that watch my channel on a regular basis know that this is one of my things I talk about quite often because we're looking at cuts here from Social Security. About 2034, we're looking at about 21% cuts. If President Biden signs this, it looks like he's going to sign that Social Security Fairness Act. It looks like we're going to get cuts sooner and we're going to get more cuts. And if the next president does some of the things that he's talking about, the cuts are going to be deeper and they're going to be sooner. So we need to come up with a solution. And it's interesting that so the senator was asked a question about FICA. The fact that, let me throw up the chart here, the fact that the rest, probably 99.9% of the people out there, you pay FICA, which is the Social Security FICA, you pay 6.2% on every dollar you earn. If you make over $176,100 this year, 2025, then you stop paying FICA. So if you're making $50,000, you're paying 6.2% on every single dollar. If you make $5 million, you're only paying it for that first 176,000. After that, you're not paying anymore. So we pay 6.2%, and someone that makes $5 million pays what, 0.42%. So very, very small amount. If you're making $50 million, you're probably, well, a lot of those people don't get regular wages. They take their assets, go to the bank, anyway. But so a lot of them don't even pay into Social Security at all, but we have to pay into it. So the question that an audience member asked was, hey, everybody here in the audience has to pay 6.2% on their Social Security. Why can't we pay less, like, probably the senator here and the other millionaires and billionaires? Why can't we pay less like y'all? And his answer is typical, politician. I recognize the question you asked, but I'm going to answer something completely different. So I'm gonna cut this up a little bit. There's about 3 sections here we'll get into.
Last question. Hi, my name's Anthony from Boise, Idaho. Go Broncos. My question is actually about Social Security, and my guess is that the majority of people in this room probably make less than $176,000 a year, which is the limit for Social Security in 2025, which means the majority of the people in this room will pay 6.2% on 100% of their income next year.
Right.
But those making over will not have to pay that extra 6.2%. Would you be in favor of reforming Social Security so that those making under could potentially pay less than the 6.2%?
Okay, so that's the question about the FICA, about 6.2%. People make over 176,000, don't have to pay Social Security FICA anymore. Are we going to make them pay more, just like the rest of us that we've been paying for decades and decades on every dollar? Or perhaps are you going to let us pay, 0.2% like they have? And that was the question. And the answer, since they brought up Denver football, it's kind of like the head coach of the Denver Broncos getting up there on stage, going on TV and say, if we can only draft Shohei Ohtani from the Los Angeles Dodgers and get him into the Broncos so he can get more home runs, I guarantee we're going to win the Super Bowl this year. How that head coach would be, would be out in no time. It's like you have no clue what you're talking about. So, someone that knows Social Security, this is equivalent to
The
that.
question is, am I in favor of reforming Social Security? We're
No, that was not the question. The question is about the FICA tax. Yes, it was about reforming Social Security. It was specifically about the FICA tax. He doesn't want to answer that because he would have to pay more, and his contributors, the money men behind a lot of these politicians, would have to pay just like the rest of us. And so they definitely don't want
going to be
to
forced to, because if we
step on
don't
the golden
reform
goose.
Social Security, it's going to go bankrupt. Now, that doesn't mean we take benefits away from people that's paying in it. What it means is we kick people off that didn't pay anything into it.
And this is where he is completely wrong, because he is talking about Social Security. The question was asked about Social Security. And he said, the Social Security Trust Fund, the 6.2 going into the Social Security Trust Fund. But what he is answering is something completely different. He is using perhaps SSI, which is supplemental security income. A lot of people don't recognize this, but he's a politician. He's the one we are depending on to save Social Security. And if he doesn't know what Social Security is all about, then then we're, all bets are off. SSI is a welfare-based program that is, yes, it's administered by the Social Security Administration, but SSI money does not come out of the Social Security Trust Fund. SSI comes out of the general revenue, general taxation. It's a welfare-based program for people that are disabled or aged over 65. Okay? And those people on SSI, that's because it's a welfare-based program. Any welfare-based program, you don't necessarily have to pay into it to get it. But Social Security, you do have to pay into Social Security to get it. The 40 quarters, the 10 years, that's for Social Security retirement. That is Social Security disability. You have to pay into Social Security to get it. The only people that receive Social Security, we're talking Social Security, we're not talking SSI. See how he's conflating the two to kind of trick his audience into, they're basically, trying to attack Social Security to tell, that this is a long 40-year program to destroy Social Security by drowning it in the bathtub, by reducing the resources and making everybody hate Social Security because you have to be on the phone for 3 hours, and all these issues with Social Security. And that's I would argue, a conscious decision by politicians to make customer service so worse, so in such a bad place that we, said, oh, we just throw up our hands and say, forget about it. Just go ahead and give it to your buddies on Wall Street. So that's the attempt. But we need to be smarter than them. All right. So the only people that can receive Social Security, not SSI, what he's, trying to trick us with, distract us with Social Security, retirement, and disability, the only people that can receive those benefits that did not pay for them are, guess what? spouses and children. So spouses, if you did not work, you stayed home, raised family, or whatever the case may be, you were disabled and you were never able to receive, disability because you never paid into the system. If you have a spouse who retires, you can collect benefits from that spouse. It's called a spouse benefit. So you do not have to be insured. You do not have to ever have paid into Social Security. If your spouse did, you can collect those spouse benefits while that person is alive, or you can collect surviving spouse benefits when that person passes away. And you never have to have paid into Social Security yourself. And the other people that can receive benefits without having to pay into the system are children. Children under the age of 18 never worked, but they can receive benefits based on their parent's record. If their parent is receiving retirement benefits or disability benefits, or they're deceased, children under the age of 18 who never paid into it can receive those benefits. Or if you're a child that's what's called a DAC, a disabled adult child, if that child became disabled before the age of 22, that child can receive benefits for the rest of their life as long as they're disabled, and even though they never paid into it. Everybody else has to pay into it. So he's conflating the two to try to trick his audience and a little
And the last time I
misdirection.
checked, that's what Social Security was for. If you pay into it, you're guaranteed to receive back. But we have hundreds of thousands, maybe millions, because we haven't done a full audit, and the Social Security office won't send it to us. But I bet you Elon will figure it out. We have a tremendous amount of false payments going out. We have to do something to it. We can't balance the budget. We can't get our house back in order if we don't get into some type of mandatory spending.
What is that? That's code word for Social Security is on the table. He wants Social Security to be on the table. And this whole idea that, Social Security doesn't report to, there may be hundreds of thousands, there's millions of people receiving Social Security that never paid into it. There's elves under my table and you can't prove it. And because I only see them. So that's that type of argument. So it just anybody that knows Social Security, met the OIG, the Office of the Inspector General, a few times. He has reported to Congress about how many people are, the fraud, waste, and abuse in Congress in Social Security. Every program, veterans benefits, food stamps, the taxes. Guess what? There's fraud, waste, and abuse in every program. But they're trying to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And the OIG reports to Congress on a regular basis. So he's saying, well, they never report to us. Yes, they report to Congress on a regular basis. Perhaps you should attend some of the meetings sometimes. And this idea that there's hundreds of thousands of millions of people, I have no idea where he gets that. He's just basically making things up because, again, nobody receives Social Security, retirement, disability, survivor benefits unless, they are spouses or children that are receiving benefits on an insured person's record.
76%
So, he is definitely going off the rails.
our entire budget is on mandatory spending, and yet we bicker over 24%. Now, how are we ever going to balance the budget off the 12 appropriation bills if we're only going to be able to touch 24% and get a $1.8 trillion spending deficit under control?
All right. This is another thing. Completely incorrect in conflating two issues. Social Security Trust Fund does not add one penny to the debt. The current debt on the general taxation for the United States is what, $36 trillion? Yes, terrible. It needs to be addressed. Everybody accepts that. But Social Security does not add one penny to the debt. Social Security is funded, retirement benefits, survivor benefits, disabled adult child benefits, disability is funded through FICA taxes. It's self-funded. Right now, it has about $2.7 trillion in the Social Security Trust Fund. And last year, they pulled $70 billion out of the Social Security Trust Fund and put it in your checks. If you receive Social Security, you got part of the trust fund last year. If you got checks this year, you're going to get part of that Social Security Trust Fund. And now it's slowly diminishing. And the estimates are it will be out of money in 2034. So at that time, they'll only be able to pay about maybe 70% of what's due. So your check is going to be reduced by 30%, 21%. It depends what happens over the next couple of years. So he is conflating the two. He was talking about the debt. This is an often thing politicians do. They say, hey, look over here, it's the debt, it's terrible, we need to do something about it. And the only solution is to not increase, is not make rich people pay the same amount of FICA tax that we have been paying for the last many decades. It's letting the poor people get their benefits cut, or ending spouse benefits, or ending children benefits, because he's either completely unaware. So there's two possibilities. He is completely uninformed, let's say, I want to be generous here, completely uninformed about Social Security and the way Social Security works and the way the Social Security is funded, or he knows good well, he's a senator, he knows good well that what he's saying is 100% incorrect, and he is attempting to, kind of distract people with fraud, waste, and abuse. Yes, there's fraud, waste, and abuse, needs to be addressed, absolutely, but that's not going to, shore up the 21% here. So I have to give him the benefit of the doubt that he knows what he's talking about, and he just chooses not to tell, I'm not going to finish that sentence. So
But
anyway,
if we
I'm
actually
trying to
get
be
into these
generous.
programs and audit them and actually get them at doing what they're intended to do, like Social Security, we can keep everybody's benefits where they're at. We don't have to put anybody into worries thinking it's not going to be there for them, because it should be there for them. But we have to, as I said, I'll repeat myself and then I'll end the question, we have to get people off of it that never paid a dime into it.
And the only people that are receiving Social Security, I'll repeat myself as well. The only people receiving Social Security benefits that never paid a dime into it are spouses and children. Period. End of story. So this was, I think this is the winner for 2024 on probably the worst diatribe on Social Security and funding and all the rest of it. This is again, I argue it's an attempt to dismantle Social Security, and people will say, "Oh, come on, Ed, he really wasn't talking about that," and maybe perhaps this was a trial balloon, because if you look at the Republican Study Committee, and I put a link in the description in YouTube, you can go in there and read the study committee report, that they do want to means test spouse benefits, which basically says that if you're receiving spouse benefits, and if you got any other income other than Social Security, they're not going to give you your spouse benefits. And it is in the Republican National Study Committee report in my description in YouTube there. So make sure you read that. Again, I'm not just just blowing smoke here. I'm trying to be honest and give you the full story. So this is an attempt to privatize Social Security. And speaking of spouse benefits, I just did a video about a week ago on spouse benefits. So if you're looking for spouse benefits, as long as they don't touch it here or make it means tested or get rid of it, these all of these updates that I just did about a week ago are still applicable. So I talk about spouse benefits, surviving spouse benefits, disabled widows benefits. I talk about independently entitled divorce benefits, working while receiving spouse benefits. So make sure you watch the video I just did. And this thing ties into another video I just did about another couple of weeks ago now, on Senator Bill Cassidy. He is going to be introducing a bill soon in Congress that does exactly what I was talking about, privatizing Social Security. So I talk about that. I've got the full video of him talking to a room of money people, as he calls them, that, hey, we're going to take $1.5 trillion out of the Social Security Trust Fund, and we're going to give it to Wall Street so they can do their things in real estate and in stocks and bonds, or whatever the case may be. And it's interesting that these politicians, I'm interested to see which politicians support this, because a lot of politicians say, hey, the Social Security Trust Fund is all just worthless IOUs. It's not really there. It was stolen. It was given to this group or that country, or whatever the case may be. And it's all fictitious. But as soon as they want to give it to Wall Street, it miraculously appears. It's like, yesterday you said that money was all worthless, and it's just worthless IOUs. But today it's all of a sudden money that you want to give to your buddies on Wall Street. So it's kind of ironical. And I'm I'm sure I'll also be, people will say, oh, come on, you're just being a little bit paranoid, Ed. Yes, I'm being very, very paranoid. Wendell Phillips, this quote was ascribed to Thomas Jefferson, not exactly sure whether, but Wendell Phillips gave a better one. Eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. Thomas Jefferson supposedly said eternal vigilance is the price of freedom, but and Wendell Phillips, the rest of the quote is even better. Power is ever stealing from the many to the few. And this is what it basically is. It's like these, the people in charge, the golden rule, the billionaires and the millionaires that control this, they do not want to pay 6.2% like the rest of us have been paying. So rather than do that, they distract, conflate, and come up with these wild stories and to cut our benefits. That's the only way to save Social Security is to raise 6.2 to 7.2 or 8.2 or just cut your benefits. Sorry, that's the only solutions available. We've tried nothing and we're all out of ideas. So ever stealing from the many to the few. This is basically what's the attempt of is happening here. So, but we have to be eternally vigilant. And anytime anybody even mentions a slight idea, if he's running up a trial balloon to get this out there, yeah, we need to end spouse benefits and child benefits. People that don't pay into the system. Maybe he's serious, maybe he's not serious. But anytime anybody mentions like that, I think it's incumbent upon us to, let's say, reach out to them. And I would recommend we do that. So this is a call to action on all of that. If Save Social Security. Contact your representative, your two senators in your state, your congressional representative from your particular district, and ask them, number one, what are you doing to support Social Security? Social Security is at a 50-year low in staffing, and that's the intention of politicians to kind of choke it. So we just kind of give up on Social Security. So what are you doing to support the local office so I don't have to wait on the phone for 3 hours? Why I don't have to wait, to get my claim, 6 or 9 months or a year to get my claim approved? And what are you doing to make sure my benefits don't stop here in a few years or excuse me, cut? 21% cut, 33% cut. What are you doing specifically? So if we all reached out and, made sure these politicians know that we are serious about this, then I think it's very, very important because there was just an attempt. Again, I'm not being paranoid about this. There was just an attempt last week when they passed the Social Security Fairness Act to kind of stick an amendment in there to increase the retirement age. That just happened last week. Luckily, it was shut down, but that's how this is, usually plays out is in the middle of the night in some back room negotiation. All of a sudden, we wake up the next day and our benefits are cut by 20%, or we're or raise the retirement age to 70 or 85 or whatever the case may be. So we have to stay vigilant. If you want Social Security to stay around here for your future and your children's future, then we definitely need to make sure we watch this. And you can subscribe and like and support this channel. And I am going to keep up on all this. And if I see anybody even mention cutting benefits, I'm going to bring it to you and please reach out. Okay. All right, so that's it for that. And also mention that I've got in touch with a veterans benefit expert. So hopefully we bring that person on and we'll do a live answering all the people's questions in terms of veterans benefits. I'm also trying to people, particularly this time of year, they're always having questions about the IRS, and I never worked the IRS. I've been trying to cancel my subscription to the IRS for decades. But I'm not an expert in any type of tax type stuff. So I'm looking for someone to bring them on and trying to one-stop shop here. One thing that definitely I've branched out in, I help people with Social Security, retirement, survivor benefits, disability, Medicaid, Medicare Part A and B, original Medicare. In order to get people help with Medicare supplements, Medicare Advantage, Part D plans, I have partnered with, partnered with Chapter Medicare, and this is the Medicare open enrollment period. Just started January, February, March. So if you want to change your Medicare plan, definitely reach out to them. Guess what? You can make, if you have like a Medicare Advantage plan, you can change it one time during this period. So if you change it in January, your new plan will take effect in February 1st. I'm going to have the member success team leader from Chapter within the next week, and they Chapter helps you find the best Medicare supplement plan, the best Medicare Advantage plan. I always, 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 always recommend Medicare supplement plans first. Look at those first. If it's not right for you, then start looking at Medicare Advantage plans, but always start with Medicare supplements. Sometimes, if you're on Medicaid, you can't get a Medicare supplement. So there's reasons why you can't get a Medicare supplement, but at least check that out first and then go on to a Medicare Advantage plan. But Medicare Advantage plans, they have, prior authorizations and there's denials, and we know all of the limited networks. So I'm going to have a member of the member success team. Those are the people that help members of chapter be successful and make sure, if they're missing their doctor or if they've got, a billing issue that they need help with, then the chapter member success team is there to help them out. So they've been doing a phenomenal job. So I'll have that representative here within the next week come in and answer any of your questions about that. All right, one last thing. There's an IRS stimulus. You probably saw it in the news. People always use this for clickbait type stuff. This is based on 2021. There is a stimulus that was kind of left over at the IRS. Look through their records, and they figured out they've got about 1 million or so people that they didn't get their stimulus checks, $1,000 up to $1,400. So they're doing that. IRS says you don't have to do anything. They got your number, and they're going to be depositing that money. I think they started last month, but they're going to be continuing this month as well. The only thing you will have to do is if you still haven't filed your 2021 taxes, if you didn't file your 2021 taxes, then I guess you have to take action. But yeah, go onto the IRS website if you didn't get that $1,400 stimulus. Okay, I think we went down the list fairly well. We privatized. Yep, we got everything. All right, so let's move into the questions, and for the next about 30 minutes, I'll answer as many questions as I possibly can. And no subject is off the table except for the IRS type stuff, which I don't want to give. Yeah. Anyway, why should you have to pay more if you make more than 176,000 unless they plan on paying them more? Well, there is a lot of people don't realize that since 1935, Social Security has always paid. It's kind of a progressive system. And basically what it is, I'll show up my little chart here. So how they determine how much your monthly benefit will be, they do a calculation and they put you on this kind of graph here. So if you're they call it over your high 35 years, your average index monthly earnings, so basically what you made on average throughout your life, if what you made on average throughout your life per month was $1,000, then guess what? You get 90% of that. So if your average that you work throughout your life, $1,000, you were barely scraping by, you were you're struggling, you were probably on food stamps or something, and whatever the case may be, you only made $1,000 on average. Social Security gives you 90%. And this has been like this, the numbers are different. In the 1930s, it was like if the first $200, they gave you this amount, this percentage, and over $200, they give you a different percentage, so it's, $200 then was what $20,000 or something now or something. Anyway, but it's always been like this. So, but if your average index monthly earnings, your monthly earnings was about $10,000, guess what? You only get a 35% return from Social Security, what you paid into it. So 35%. So that's about $3,500. So if your average was $10,000, you get $3,500. The average today is $3,955. So about half of that, a little under $2,000. So the average Social Security check today is what, $1,976, I think is the exact number. And so you get a 50% of what you paid into Social Security. And it's always been like this since day one. The more you make, the less percentage. The less you made throughout your life, the more percentage, because they figured, it's a welfare type situation, income. It's like you don't have any, if you only made $1,000 throughout your life, you've got no savings, you've got no, 401k, you've got no pension. You were struggling throughout your life. So Social Security since day one has said, okay, we're going to give you a little bit more. And this is what the Inflation Reduction Act was. It's basically these people are now going to be able to hide their benefit, to hide their income throughout their life. And so you've got some, state attorney that's been making $200,000 a year. they're going to get like 90% of what they paid into Social Security because they're going to be able to hide their true earnings throughout their life. And so they, their main job, they didn't pay into Social Security, but they worked other jobs that did pay into Social Security, but they're able to hide the money that they made in their state attorney job, the places that didn't pay into Social Security, and now they're going to get 90% like they were, low income poor. So they're as soon as Biden decides that, these people are going to be able to hide their benefit. They're going to be able to hide their income, and so they can get essentially a benefit that was intended for low income workers. It's a terrible system. But to answer your question, yeah, it's always been like this. And if we decide to raise it, get rid of the cap at $176,000 cap, if we decide to completely get rid of it, we just add some more here. And instead of 35%, now the least you can get is about 25% if you completely max out. So maybe we make it 1% or 0.2%. What they've been paying to FICA for all these decades, make it that, and thank you for the extra, Social Security, and we'll name a dog park after you. I don't know. So, all right, let's see here. Get some other questions. For Social Security, for ex Social Security benefits, if I draw his at my full retirement age, but he's 62, do I receive 30% or 50%? You receive 50% because you're your full retirement age. So it's based on what your age is. So you get 50%. If you're full retirement age, you get 50% of his full benefit amount, not his reduced amount. But if he is 62, then you can collect benefits. And it sounds like this is an X. So I want to take this moment to give out a thing that a lot of people are missing out there. Tens of millions of dollars are being lost out there because people don't know this. This is called Independently Entitled Divorced Spouse Benefits, IEDS. It's the government, got to have a long title, right? So if you're your full retirement age and your husband is 62 years old, your ex-husband, divorced husband, is 62, you can collect benefits on that person's record. It does not matter. It does not matter that your ex-spouse is not receiving benefits. Doesn't matter. As long as your ex-spouse is at least 62 years old and you're eligible for the benefits, you have to file for benefits on your own record, and then you file for spouse benefits. Two things have to be met, though. You have to be divorced for 2 years, at least 2 years. And then obviously with everything else on spouse benefits, your benefits have to be less than half of that spouse's or the ex-spouse's. But there's a lot of people out there that are just sitting around twiddling their thumbs, and they are entitled to divorce spouse benefits, but they think I can't file until my ex starts his benefits or her benefits. That is incorrect. You do not have to wait. So yeah, so it's please, if that doesn't apply to you, go out there and share with anybody that you might think, hey, what's going on here? Why don't we hear about removing cap on FICA withholding from any of those in government? You do. Bernie Sanders has been talking about it for a while. There are some out there, but you have to understand that, what's the Ricky Bobby type thing. If politicians had to go around and like a NASCAR driver and, all their patches of who sponsored them, then you would know immediately why politicians are not talking about raising the cap, is because the people that give them their patches would have to pay more money, and they definitely don't want to do that. They want us to pay 100% on every dollar we make. So, yeah. Let's see here. My Medicare out-of-pocket cost went up and it covers less. It's more out of pocket. Sounds like you are in a Medicare Advantage plan. Yeah, when you're on a Medicare supplement plan, if you have like a Plan G, then you just pay the yearly deductible. Next year for Part D deductibles, $257. That's why I always recommend Medicare supplement plans if you can afford it. You have to pay the monthly premium. That's one of the number one reasons why people don't get a Medicare supplement, is because it's kind of a pay in advance type system. You pay the monthly premium, but after that you're good. So if you have a $1 million operation or something like that, and you have a Medicare supplement plan, Plan G, you pay $257 and you're done. If you have a Medicare Advantage plan, you're often enticed in there with the zero premium and the gym membership and all those extra bells and whistles, but it's a pay-as-you-go type system. So if you have a night in a hospital, it might be $100, $200, $300. Last year it was $100. This year it was $200, and there's a lot of people in Nancy's position that perhaps didn't review. That's why the annual enrollment period, which was October 15th to December 7th, there was that annual enrollment period for you to review. And a lot of people just, missed the deadline and figure, well, it's the same plan as last year. No, Medicare Advantage plans and Part D plans change every single year. They sunset like Cinderella December 31st. And a new plan, you might have the same card, the same company, but all the little nasty details just could very well change. And it looks like it changed for Nancy. So good news, Nancy, you do have a chance to do a redo, a mulligan. So reach out to whoever helped you with your Medicare. Well, it doesn't sound like they helped you very well, but you can reach out to chapter there and give them a call. And they will be able to look at other plans in your area and see if they can get you some more money saved. Yep. In Social Security for the mega wealthy, otherwise known as GOP tax cuts, raise the taxes on mega wealthy to 75%. Yeah, there's was it three people? Was it Elon Musk and Bezos and God, the Facebook guy? Yeah, they own more wealth than the bottom 50% of the American public. Yeah, it is anyway, I read. I'm just jumping around here. Sorry, I'm just jumping around. This is a one man operation, so I'm just popping up whatever pops up, and I try to answer it. So I don't read these beforehand, and sometimes I regret. Anyway, I read that there are over 40 trillion in retirement access once all baby boomers start paying taxes through RMD. Couldn't this solve some of our government's deficits? Yeah, I'm not sure what. Yeah. Everyone who has an income should pay the same. I don't care how much they make. They keep the 6.2 present and should help Social Security. I agree. And don't just take my word for it. Again, I always provide resources, references. In my YouTube channel description, I have the Social Security Actuaries Report. And anytime someone comes up with some idea to save Social Security and make sure there are no cuts, the actuary pulls out their big calculator and they run the numbers. So the one about getting rid of the FICA cap, that solves 73% of the issue. And we just need to, tweak the other, 17% or so, 23. Anyway, guerrilla math. But one of the things that politicians do is they say, well, that doesn't solve everything. It's not the silver bullet. It's not 100% fix. And, Ed doesn't get his hair back. So if that doesn't happen, then it's no use in even talking about it. So let's just go ahead and give it to Wall Street. So they make the perfect the enemy of the good. Yeah. In Oklahoma, no woman can make the hourly wage a man can. This is sexist and just wrong. And it just so happens, I'm sure you know that that particular senator is from Oklahoma. And I don't want to pick on people from Oklahoma since I lived right across the border in Paris, Texas. I went to high school there in a dry county. And as a 16 or 17-year-old, Oklahoma provided me a lot of beer because I wasn't in. But no, I don't have that on record. Y'all didn't hear that. Please delete that from everything you see. Anyway. Spouses, children, and SSI recipients never paid into the system, along with those who may have paid into it but didn't pay long enough. Yes, exactly. Yes, spouses. Well, spouses, if they're insured under their own record, they did pay into Social Security. It's just that they paid into it less than half of their spouse, so they're entitled to the difference. So some spouses did not pay into Social Security, but some did. And children, obviously, unless they're child actors or something like that. But SSI recipients, even SSI recipients, because a lot of people don't realize that you can get SSI and SSDI. And SSI is the welfare-based disability program, and SSDI is Social Security Disability Insurance, what you actually paid into Social Security. So if you're receiving SSDI that you paid into Social Security, but because you only paid a little bit, let's say your SSDI is $500, and you have no other real income or other resources, then you can apply for SSI when you file for disability, Social Security is always supposed to address both programs. How do I know? I've taken hundreds of thousands of disability claims, and they're supposed to address the SSI part and the SSDI part. So if you only get $500 from Social Security disability insurance, the Social Security person is supposed to say, hey, do you have any other income or resources coming in? If you say no, then they also take an application for SSI. And SSI for how much is it for this year is $967. So you can receive SSDI $500 plus another $467 from SSI for a total of $967. So there's a lot of people on SSI that did pay into Social Security, but they also receive some extra money from SSI. And if you're receiving SSDI, then you're eligible for Medicare after being on SSDI for 2 years. And if you're on SSI, you're probably eligible for Medicaid from the state. And if you're eligible for Medicaid from the state, they can put you in the Medicare savings program and it pays for your Part B premium. So that's why I'm doing this channel, because there's so many missing pieces of the puzzle that people miss, that they file for this and they forget about this and they forget about this. And so until politicians give Social Security the resources that they need to pick up the phone and actually answer your question and get people trained, then I'm going to continue to do this. And once the Social Security, customer service is back to where it should be, then goodbye. Have a great life. I'm going off into retirement. I'm never going to retire. I'll find something else stupid to do. So most of government officials is not hurting for money. They are rich. Yeah, that's, but they don't want to pay the 6.2% themselves on every dollar they make, like the rest of us. People, well, that's not fair that, if they're going to pay more, they're not going to get an equivalent amount of Social Security check. Okay. All right. So, well, what about for the next 40 years, since we paid Social Security tax on every dollar we made for the last 40 years or so? Why don't we let the other, the rich pay, just like we did for the next 40 years. And then after that, we'll figure out something that's, best for all of us, I guess. So, all right. Let's see. Enjoy the cuts to the VA, Social Security, and Medicare. MAGA. It's what you vote. Okay, yeah. I am. President-elect Trump said he is not going to make cuts to Social Security or disability. Well, he didn't say disability; he said Social Security. His previous budget, when he was president, did cut disability, try to kick people off of disability. There's some people that not entitled, but Social Security checks out on a regular basis. But there is fraud and waste abuse. Everybody understands that. But is cutting out all fraud and waste and abuse going to prevent our cuts in the future? No, there's just not enough money there. But that's not the issue. It's okay if you don't raise the retirement age, perfect, awesome. If you don't cut, perfect, awesome. But what are you going to do in the next term to solve the issue? Because it's not going to happen during his term. It's going to happen in the president after them, that the automatic cuts are going to happen. But we need to take action now. And what is your solution now to make sure those cuts don't happen in the future? And if you just kind of, kick the can down the road like we've been doing, and I don't blame him. He was president, so I blame him. And I blame Biden, and I blame Obama, and I blame Clinton and the Bushes, all of them, and all the politicians since the 1980s that didn't solve the issue. That is very easy to solve, but they just don't have the political will, and that's why we need to take action. So, yeah. Advantage plans are a scam. I don't know about a scam, but I prefer Medicare supplement plans. If you can get a Medicare supplement plan, then yes, please. But if you can't, then unfortunately, yeah, you can't. All right, let's see here. I'm going to try to get actual Social Security questions. Government foreign aid will solve the Social Security problem. Stop giving away our money. All right, so that's another distraction. Social Security money does not go, to Ukraine or wherever. It's not stolen or anything like that. That is a separate issue. If you don't want to give general taxation away to foreign countries, okay, fine. But that's not going to solve the Social Security issue. There's easy solutions to the Social Security issue, but that's kind of one of the distractions that politicians do, is they say, hey, if we just, fraud, waste, and abuse, everything will be hunky-dory and Ed will get his hair back. And yeah. Let's see. Part C is Medicare Advantage controlled by the government. Yes, that is, well, Part C, I hate calling it, I don't like calling it Part C. Medicare Part A covers your hospitals. That's, if you paid into Social Security for 10 years, then zero premium for Part A, and that covers your hospitals. Part B covers your doctors, and that's what, this year it's $185. So it's A and B. That's original Medicare, A and B. And then you have Medicare Part C, which I don't like calling it that. Those are, yes, the Medicare Advantage plans, and those are private companies. So if you go to Social Security and say, "Hey, I want to find a Part C," and Social Security said they can't help you. If you want to find a Part D, as in David, as in drugs, Medicare Part D, those are also private companies, and Social Security can't help you. Social Security can only help you with Part A and Part B. And again, that's why I partnered up with Chapter to help you with C and D. Well, hopefully Medicare supplements, but if not, then C, or Medicare Advantage. And they are regulated by the government. Medicare Advantage plans are regulated by the government. And the next individual that's coming in, that will be the director of Medicare, CMS, Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, will be possibly, if he's approved, Dr. Oz, who really likes Medicare Advantage plans. And he's made no secret about that. He wants Medicare Advantage for all. So that's, so reach out to your politicians, and this is crunch time over the next year or two. This is really crunch time. If we don't do anything over the next year or two, I mean, really should do it immediately, if not sooner. Then when those cuts start happening and those benefits start being cut and programs being ended, then we've got no one to blame but ourselves. So, and please, let's not just, kind of like they did in the 1980s, just make our children pay for it. When they raise the retirement age. Okay, I could see the retirement age going from 65 to 67. Okay, I could see that. But the 69, 70, no, I don't agree with you. You might, I don't agree with it. So by raising the retirement age for future generations, then we're just putting the bill on our children. So we need to fix it. All right, CDR question. Okay, good. An actual Social Security question. What is your recommendation for a severely physically disabled person on SSDI at 54? Should they take a witness to the exam to help with communications? Yeah, so you've got a CDR, continuing disability review, and so I guess your number is up. And this is part of what Social Security does, is they make sure people are receiving disability that they're supposed to be receiving disability. So what the senator talks about is, oh, there's so many people. No, Social Security checks this on a regular basis, and PMFG knows this, and it's annoying. But you have to do a continuing disability review. Social Security wants to make sure you're still disabled and still eligible for those benefits. So it sounds like they have scheduled you for a CE, a consultative exam with essentially a doctor that's been contracted with Social Security concerning your disability. So yeah, if you want to take someone, I don't think the doctor can, if the doctor, if you say, hey, I want this person to be in the office with me when you talk to me, and if the doctor doesn't have an issue with it, Social Security doesn't. That's between you and your doctor. Let's see here. Medicare has already started cutting away on Medicare benefits, and there's already a reduction in benefits. Yes, there's been a big reduction of benefits this year, and that's why I was talking till I was blue in my face over the last couple of months about people that during the annual enrollment period from October 15th to December 7th, really, really, really need to check your Medicare Advantage plan and your Part D plan, because there's so many changes for 2025. There's 1.8 million people that got their Social Security, or their Medicare Advantage plans canceled. The companies that have these plans decided, hey, we're not making money in this area. And, some of them were the entire state, like Missouri. One company said, yeah, we're not making money in Missouri, so bye, see y'all. So they canceled plans. So 1.8 million people had their Medicare Advantage plans canceled for 2025. And I guarantee you, there's people that didn't get the message didn't read the letter, didn't get the email, didn't watch my video, and they are going to go to the doctor next week and hand them their Medicare Advantage plan, and the doctor's going to say, this doesn't work. You have to pay, you don't have Medicare coverage, or you have original Part A and Part B. So because you just have Part B, today's office visit is $1,000. You have to pay 20% of that. So you have to cough up $200 because there's a 20% co-insurance for Part B. And you're like, but I've had this plan for 3 or 4 years. Well, sorry, they've canceled it. Or they didn't cancel you, they downgraded your plan to such an extent that you probably should have switched to another plan, but you still have an opportunity to do that. So reach out to Chapter or whoever helped you with Medicare insurance, your cousin or neighbor or high school buddy or whatever the case may be. Reach out to someone and get help to see if you can get into something better. Let's see. When you start collecting Social Security, 23,500 is your income limit. Is it gross or net? Okay, yeah, good question. So this is $23,400 is the annual earnings limit once you start collecting Social Security early. So if you're 62, 63, 64, 65, or whatever, and you start collecting Social Security benefits, you have to stay under the annual earnings limit. And this year, 23,400, and that is both gross from your W-2 wages, or if you're self-employed, net income. But remember, a lot of people miss this, is that that's the annual limit. There's also a monthly limit that you can switch to. Okay, let's say if you want to start your benefits in July, you turn, you want to stop working in July and you want to start your benefits, and you say, well, I can't start my benefits in July because by then I will be over the $23,400. Doesn't matter. Social Security can switch to a monthly limit. So in July, as long as you're under $1,950, the first month you go under $1,950 in W-2 wages or net income, then Social Security can start your benefits starting that month, as long as you stay under that amount for the rest of the year. So basically, let's say if you make $1 million, I always exaggerate. If you make $1 billion from January until June, doesn't matter. Social Security doesn't care what you earn before that. They just ask you, how much are you gonna make in July? Oh, I'm gonna stop working. I'm not gonna make $1 billion a month anymore. I'm only gonna make, 1,000 up to 1950. They say, okay, cool. All right, we'll start your benefits in July. No withholding $1 for every $2 or anything like that. So there's a lot of people that miss benefits because they think they go over the annual and they don't know about the monthly earnings limit. So please subscribe and like and share and all that kind of good stuff so more people get the information. So yeah, so more people get it. Mr. Actor, where my husband paid into Social Security, he died. I worked as a peace officer and have non-Social Security retirement. Will I ever qualify to get Social Security as a widow? Well, it looks like, again, that's what's going to be signed. Everybody else, the 97% of people that paid into Social Security, they get their benefits on their own record, offset what they receive from their deceased spouses. But if President Biden signs that, and this is, I am blaming Biden, but this was actually, the Social Security Fairness Act was bipartisan, very unusual. 97 senators voted for it, very unusual. So it's a bipartisan. Why did they vote for it? Well, they're politicians. They want to appeal to, they want to get votes. And there's another element of the people that voted for it that wanted to destroy Social Security. And because they signed this, it's going to take another $190 billion from Social Security, and it's going to cut Social Security, sooner and deeper. So somebody, yeah, put Zuckerberg there. I always forget his name. So anyway, can I receive Social Security benefits on my ex-husband if I'm disabled and on workers' comp? I live in Ohio 54. The only time you can, if you're 54 years old, is called disabled widows benefits. But it sounds like your ex-husband, yeah. So if you have a spouse that passes away and you're between the ages of 50 and 59, you can receive what's called disabled widows benefits. But you are 54 and it sounds like it's your ex, so that would be a no. But You can receive just regular spouse benefits when you hit 62. And this is another thing that a lot of people miss, as they think is because they're receiving disability, they can't receive spouse benefits or surviving spouse benefits. That's incorrect. You can receive disability and keep your Medicare and receive surviving spouse benefits or divorce spouse benefits or current spouse benefits. The numbers have to be correct in terms of that benefit amount has to be twice yours. But yeah. Do you have to pay for a supplement plan and Medicare payment every month? Yes. And that's one of the reasons, well, the main reason why not everybody gets a Medicare supplement plan is because, yes, Medicare supplement plans, the plan N, plan G, the old plan F, there is a monthly premium. And it really depends on your particular area and your age and all that kind of thing. So, yeah. But the reason the prices are what they are is that there's only a few people that get those. If everybody got a Medicare supplement plan, then the prices would go down even more. My argument is if I was a dictator for a day, I would get rid of Medicare supplements and Medicare Advantage and Part D and all that kind of stuff and just say have Medicare Part A and Part B cover everything, right? So including dental, vision, and hearing. But yeah, that's well, as the regular viewers know, my first order of business as a dictator for a day would cure for male pattern baldness, and after that, I would work on y'all's Medicare. Let's see. I have original Medicare Part A and B and TRICARE for life for many years. I didn't have problem up until now. Medicare said my card is invalid. Social Security office said my card is good. Need your advice. Yeah, if you're, I go into Medicare.gov. And see what's going on there. I probably maybe the name is changed. Did you get married or divorced or something like that? So it sounds like the Medicare system is just not talking to the TRICARE system, the computer systems. But if you have Medicare Part A and Part B and TRICARE, then you don't need anything. So if somebody tries to sell you a Medicare supplement plan, say thank you, buy Medicare Advantage. Some people with TRICARE get that, but I wouldn't. Yeah, just you have A and B and TRICARE, you're good. So go on with your life and stop listening to Medicare insurance agents. So, um, stagnant wages, stagnant payroll taxes. Why doesn't anyone get the connection? Raise wages. Yes, yes. If if the people that don't pay into Social Security after 176,000, the reason that's you got it right there, the nail on the head. We would be more than happy, the 99% that don't make over that amount, we'd be more happy to pay more into Social Security FICA taxes and therefore solve the issue and have Social Security solvent for the next 75 years, raise our wages, and we would have to pay more. Give us the money that has gone to the top. And yes, you've got it right there. Wages have stayed stagnant basically since the 1980s. When they devised the Social Security Trust Fund, they figured wages would go up and there would be more money coming into FICA, and everything would be hunky dory. But guess what? Wages have gone flat. And where's the money go? That all of the productivity that we put into, it's gone to, uh, yeah. So it's gone out of the 176,000. So yeah, we'd be more than happy to pay more FICA if we got more wages, if our wages weren't stagnant. Yes, you hit the nail right on the head there. The reason wages are low is because businesses are on life support. Yeah, don't really see that. Didn't Obama take money out of our Social Security? No. Again, that's another thing that the politicians try to trick us with is the money is gone. It was stolen. It's again, we need to be smarter than these politicians. Yep. Let's see here. Can the lower earning spouse claim Social Security benefits based on his or own record if it is greater than half of their higher earning foregoing and using the spousal benefit? I never see this discussed. Um, if it is greater. Okay. So can the lower earning spouse claim Social Security benefits based on his own record if it is greater than 0.5% of the higher foregoing using spousal? Yes, yes, that's par for the course. If your benefit amount is over 50% of your spouse's, then you just collect benefits on your own record and you're done. If your benefit amount, your full benefit amount is less than half, then you file for benefits on your own record. And then you have to file another claim, a spouse claim for those spouse benefits. And remember, when I say half, A lot of people make a mistake, and a lot of people aren't receiving the money they earned because they look at the wrong number. They look at the MBA, not the PIA. The MBA is your monthly benefit amount, how much your check is, how much you get in direct deposit. Don't look at that because your benefit might be reduced because you took it early or because you're paying for Medicare, whatever the case may be, and your spouse, same type of situation. So don't look at your check amount. You have to look at your PIA, your primary insurance amount. That's the amount you would have received if you had waited till your full retirement age. That's how Social Security makes the calculation whether a spouse is entitled to benefits. How do you know that? You call up. Unfortunately, you get on the call, you get on the phone, and you call Social Security, and you say, "Hey, what's my PIA? What's my spouse's PIA?" And then you'll be able to know. And guess what? While please, you're on the phone for 3 hours waiting to get into Social Security, go on to your politician's website. They have on their websites, all politicians, all senators and representative Congress people have a little a button there that says, "I need help with a federal agency." Click on that and say, "Hey, I've been on hold at my local Social Security office or the 800 number for 2 hours. What are you doing to make this better? And number two, what are you doing to make sure my benefit isn't cut by 21 or 33% in the next few years?" And then push the button and then go on and continue to be on hold. If we all did that and we made politicians aware that we are watching them, then I think we should be good. I'm very optimistic, aren't I? But I'm going to keep my optimism. All right. It's over an hour here, and I'm sorry we ran out of time. Got tons and tons of questions. I apologize. I will be back again tomorrow, and we'll talk about more stuff. I'll try to keep tomorrow's topic of the day a little bit shorter, and that way I can answer more questions. Y'all have an awesome day. Support